Hey there, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of The Influence Gap. I thought I'd do something a little different this week and bring you a solo episode. I've been having a couple of conversations around influence, which is wonderful, especially around AI. And so I thought I would bring you some ideas merging influence and AI and the importance of elevating your visibility when it comes to the value that you have to offer and how you can differentiate yourself today. In addition to that, I'm just about to publish my next book, which is Sales Does Not Equal Revenue. Sales does not equal, as in does not equal, the sign does not equal, which I think is pretty cool. So sales does not equal revenue, the five leadership decisions that do. And of course, I touch on this as one of the decisions. So how we need to, increase our visibility when it comes to our value. And so I hope you enjoy this episode. I'm going to share three ways that you can elevate your visibility or when it comes to influence. So, hey, dive in. Looking forward to this one and look forward to hearing your thoughts and seeing you again this time next week. So let's crack into this. Hey, this is Bernadette McClelland, and welcome to The Influence Gap. This is the show where leaders come to close the gap between intention and impact so that they can have the right conversations, make the right decisions, and achieve the results that matter the most. And welcome back. Let's talk about influence for a moment and what I believe influence is not. Influence is not manipulation. I believe it is helping people make decisions that contribute to a better way of life. Influence is definitely not control because control creates compliance. And instead, I think influence creates commitment instead of control and compliance. And influence is not charisma, that we see with the TikTokers and the influencers. So I don't believe it's charisma. The people that have influence are not necessarily the loudest in the room. They are not necessarily the funniest in the room. They are definitely the ones in the room who create change. I would definitely agree with that. So I believe that influence, in my opinion, means those people that do have influence are those that have the ability to create change in themselves so that they can create change around them. That's what I believe the definition of having influence is. And so when we look at the world that we are in at the moment, it is completely filled with disruption every which way that we look. And especially now that we have AI here and we look at everything, disruption is everywhere. AI now is inside everything. It is inside the tools that we have around us. It is inside every platform that we have. From a sales perspective, it is inside the CRMs. It is inside everything, and it is accelerating at a rapid pace. And so it's fitting. It is totally fitting that leaders today are feeling this level of anxiety. What do I do? Is one part of it, but it's also commoditizing absolutely everything. And as a result of that, it is commoditizing a leader's level of expertise. It's able to analyze the pipeline faster. It's able to synthesize data. It's able to generate reports. It's able to surface patterns of our sales team's behavior. We just need to put something into Claude and it spits out something, about our salespeople's levels of activity and their patterns of behavior based on emails, based on whatever it may be, interaction with a client, whatever it may be. And as a result of that, um, you know, it's doing all of that that maybe once was based on a senior leader's level of judgment. So all of this is happening as a result of AI. So where does that put the sales leader? Well, here's the thing, it may be able to do all of that, but it cannot replicate you. And that may seem quite kind of Pollyanna and yeah, but Bernadette, where does that leave me? Well, here's the thing, like the reality is you can sit in a victim mindset and you can throw your hands up and say, yeah, well, you know what, it can track all this reporting and it can do all this pattern recognition and it can do all this automation. But here's the thing, how do you want to differentiate yourself moving forward? How do you want to show up as this revenue leader of influence? It cannot replicate you. It cannot be the leader who has sat, with that $10 million deal and lost that deal and then had to rebuild from that loss. It has not been that leader who has sat in front of that buyer and sat in the silence with that buyer and understood the silence of that buyer and read the play. It has not been that leader who has had to make a call and gone against the data. And whether that call was right or wrong, has learnt a lesson from making that call. It has not been that leader. And that is earned wisdom that you're walking away from those experiences with. That earned wisdom is worth something. That earned wisdom is lived experiences. It is knowledge. It's tacit knowledge. That knowledge is in your head. It is in your memory. It is in your gut. And AI can't take that. That is valuable. And that helps you as a leader. But the only thing is, it's not visible. And this is what we need to do. We need to make our value visible. And the thing is, we're not aware that this is currency. And this is where so many leaders have not so much made it wrong, they haven't realized that this is IP and this is an asset. It's a commercial asset. And businesses know this because they tap into it. Some businesses have tapped into it and they call it knowledge management. But individuals haven't yet tapped into it. And so the case is that too many leaders, too many of us, and I was in this camp years ago until I kind of left corporate and moved out, moved into the thought leadership world and realized that I had all this tacit knowledge that was locked away because we spend decades with our heads down, executing, grinding away, and delivering. And what we're not doing is we're not stopping and we're not asking the question, what do I know that I haven't yet captured? And the thing is, because the pace of corporate life is, it's like head up, head down rather, bum up. And we're just working and we're just delivering and we're working for the man and we're working for the number. And nobody cares what we think because it's a case of just get the number, and that invisibility of what we know is kind of not recognized. So that era is now ending. It has to end because what we know is 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 now valuable and needs to become visible, and that visibility becomes our level of influence. And so for today, I'm going to invite you not to do a task so much as to ask yourself a question. And that question that I want you to ask yourself is, what is it that you know that you have never said out loud? And what I mean by that is not necessarily content that you have learnt, but it's, what is it that you have observed, maybe from other people, maybe it's from yourself, but what is it that you have observed that you have never said out loud? Um, what is there a pattern that you have noticed that is, like from 30,000 feet, that you've recognized maybe in other people? What is a question that you have asked that is kind of like a question that you've asked in a conversation that has shifted the needle, that maybe nobody else asks? Because the observation, the recognition, the question, that's your voice. And that voice that you have, that's part of the way that you see the world. And you may have never really noticed it, but that's kind of your what's the word that I'm trying to think of here? That's how you see things. And that's your edge. And most leaders are too busy using that they don't actually realize that they have it. And so in a world where AI can actually produce content, and they can produce competent, structured thinking at scale, where adequate is it's all adequate. Adequate is not enough today. That's probably what I'm trying to say. We need to really help you build your influence by really zoning in on what makes you different. And so what makes you different is your specificity, is your lived experience, is your wisdom, is your knowledge, is your IP. That's what's going to set you apart, and your bravery in making that visible. So what I want to share with you today is 3 ways that you can make your influence, your knowledge, your IP visible. And this is the only way that you are going to override AI if you have the courage to be able to step up and do that. So let's look at the 3 ways that you can do that. So first and foremost is the ability, so there's 3 ways. The first way is through structured frameworks. So when I talk about structured frameworks, I want you to think, I want you to think of um, when you first started to draw when you were a kid. And if you can't remember the first drawings you did as a kid, if you're a parent, think of the first drawings your kids did. And if you can't remember, let me share with you. They were stick people. So if we think about structured frameworks, stick people are made up of circles for the heads, triangles for the bodies, and typically rectangles for the limbs. So drawings, structured frameworks are made of shapes. Shapes resonate with us. And shapes conjure up, you think about Maslow's hierarchy. It's an aspirational journey. It's a progression. You think of Eisenhower's urgent, non-urgent, important. It's a 2x2 matrix. It's a tension framework. You think of a Venn diagram. Think of Simon Sinek's Start with Why, it's circles. So we think of structured frameworks because they simplify the complex. My book, which is Stop Selling Widgets, Start Selling Wisdom, is based on the story selling framework. It's story selling circles. It's framework based stories. So we learn through, we can share our influence through structured frameworks. That is one way to share your influence. The second way is through story. Now, story taps into the emotional part of the brain, and story helps us feel safe. It's the amygdala part of the brain where everybody goes, am I safe? The limbic part of the brain, which gives meaning before the prefrontal cortex part of the brain, which is the executive part that says, okay, now what do I do? But you can't influence somebody by telling them what to do. It has to create meaning first, and before that, it has to feel safe. So story is another way to influence somebody. And then the third way is to speak. And how do you actually verbalize your ideas? And that is through speaking. And a really simple way to demonstrate speaking is to have a really quick structure to being caught on the hop. Impromptu speaking is 1, 2, and 3, a really quick way to do that. And so they are the 3 ways that you can share your influence and make your voice visible. Share your wisdom in a really visible way because you already have the value. So how do you make your wisdom visible, not just valuable? So I hope that this has helped you think a little bit differently today. I'm putting together right now my book, which is Sales Does Not Equal Revenue, the 5 leadership decisions that do. And in corresponding with that is my program, which will partner with that, decision-led revenue. And this module, the 5th module, which is make your wisdom visible, not just valuable, dives deep into this because it is all about, becoming a revenue leader of influence today. And how do you differentiate yourself, not just against your competitor, but in a world of disruption? And disruption is AI as well. So I hope you find this really helpful today. I wanted to shift your thinking just a little bit. And look, when it comes to influence, influence really is about creating that change inside you so that you can create change around you. And that's what we all want to do today. So look, have an amazing day. I look forward to seeing you this time next week. And follow, subscribe, like, and most of all, have an amazing day. We look forward to seeing you this time next week. Bye for now. That's a wrap on today's episode of The Influence Gap. If this resonated with you, share it with a CEO or a sales leader who you think needs to hear it. And make sure that you subscribe so that you never miss one single episode. If you are ready to close the gap between your message and the impact you want to make, come and find me at BernadetteMcClelland.com. I'll see you this time next week. Bye for now.